Still going. Here we go. All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Hi, Amy. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I love to be on this side of the interview.
So today, y'all are going to be so wanting to stay tuned for what Amy has to share. Amy Stone is a media entrepreneur, storyteller, and the founder of the Art of Imperfect Adulting. Make sure you get out there and check out her podcast. Imperfect Adulting is a growing media platform featuring long form interviews that explore the messy and nonlinear reality of building a life. Today, we're going to be talking about burnout and perfectionism. So, you may know already, holistic nurse coaches, we talk a lot about what it looks like to really care for yourself in the middle of life and how to support yourself through nervous system regulation and honoring yourself along the way. So today, what Amy's going to share with us really goes hand in hand with that. So thank you so much, Amy, for being here. How did you get into this notion of imperfect adulting? What sparked that?
Well, I guess there's two parts of it. One is the awareness of my own lived experience, which is that I just was very aware that I was never the picture perfect example of perfection. And I knew that about myself. And then, really, the name, The Art of Imperfect Adulting, there are a lot of media products and blogs and shows out there that are the art of whatever, the art of conversation, the art of this, the art of that. And it popped into my head one day, and I was like, The Art of Imperfect Adulting. And I wrote it down and I shared it with my husband, and he did not get it. And he did not think it was cute at all. But I did. I really did. And that was actually a couple years before I actually did anything with it. It was just something that bounced around in my head for a while. But I like the combination of like the idea of art because art can be art can be like really beautiful and perfect. And then the juxtaposition with the word imperfect, which truly is a little harder to say than I realized when I came up with this brand, because if I had known I was going to say it 25 times a day, I might have chosen a different word.
Because it's a little lengthy.
It's a
It
little
has a
lengthy
ring
because
to it, though.
it can for sure. And then the word adulting, which is really interesting because some people really love it and other people push back on it. And I just really thought it was a catch-all phrase that was just like all of us that are over 18 were adults and the things we do are adulting. But in the past several years, I've had people who are like, well, isn't that like a young person's word? Or I don't really know what that means. But I love it because it summarizes what I think is a big portion of life without taking itself too seriously.
I get that. And I think that I find myself even now, I just turned 40 and I'll be surprised at, oh, I'm being such an adult. And here I've been an adult now for a really long time. So I think that art of adulting is always evolving.
Yes. And I remember so I'm a stepmom and I'm a mom. And so this happened a little bit more when I was a stepmom than when I was a mom, but the same kind of thing. There are these experiences that happen where somebody will ask you a question or think that you know something and you don't even realize they're talking to you and you sort of check over your shoulder like, wait, is that for me? Like, or am I the adultest person here? Like, are you actually taking me seriously? Like, how did that happen? And then also within that framework, I was creating a show and a community that wasn't exclusive to parents, because that's a huge portion of some people's lives. But our adult experience begins before that for most of us. Some people never go through that and it doesn't apply to them at all. And then after our kids become majority age, for most of us, we're still adults, and we are still parents. It's just not the dominant thing in our lives.
And I know that you speak a lot about perfectionism.
Sure.
If somebody is not, they may not even know they're a perfectionist. Like, how would somebody start to get a notion that, oh, maybe this is perfectionist showing up and robbing my joy or controlling my life, which it can do. And sometimes we don't even
Yeah.
know that that's what's operating.
No, and it's really reinforced, right? It's this very romantic idea that we could do something perfectly, that we could do something so well
It's
that
very
it's
attractive,
right. It's very attractive,
but
right?
elusive, like you'll never
Elusive.
get
I don't think it's
it.
possible.
It's
I don't
not, it's
think it's
always
possible, right?
changing.
And so it's not possible. So it's a bad target because you're setting yourself up for something that you maybe can't actually do. And the other thing that's sort of nestled in the chase of perfectionism is that a lot of times hidden in there is that we're really looking for somebody else to tell us that something is done correctly. And
Okay.
so, right, like that's this idea that somebody else is going to come over and say, "Good job, you get a golden star. You're worthy of the promotion. You're worthy of praise. You're worthy of a bigger paycheck." And there are times all the time in our life where other people have control over our life that never ends. But there's this other side of it, which is when you give yourself permission to be the judge and scorer for yourself, then you're empowering yourself to make that own decision, your own decision. Like, if I cook dinner for the people who come over, and maybe they don't like it, does that mean I've done something wrong? Did I not do it well enough? Or can I be the judge who's like, I thought this was fantastic and I worked really hard on it, right? And we can be very hard on ourselves. Perfectionism can absolutely be there. But if you just never feel like anything is ever measuring up, like you're constantly waiting for something to be right enough, I think that's the sensation of perfectionism. And some people, so that's the sensation that I would say people experience. Um, some people teach that perfectionism is actually like a form of self-sabotage. I'm not the person to teach it that way, but
Yeah.
that we somehow we do know that we can't ever get there, and so it's a way we self-sabotage, and it's a way we procrastinate taking steps and making decisions because like, oh, it's not ready yet. I can't tell anybody about this yet because
It's
it's
like a
not perfect enough.
self-preservation in a way.
Yeah,
Which I
yeah,
always say, we're wired for survival, so our brain is always going to give us all kinds of really creative ways that a lot of times seem like facts of why we
yes,
can't start or why this isn't the right thing.
right, and and it's yeah.
Perfectionism's another one of those.
Right, because we think that if we get it well enough, if we get it good, there's not a combination of words that were put together in the right way there. But if something is perfect enough that we'll never get bad feedback, that's not been my experience in life. I've done some things that are like amazing and people have still been very upset about them. So, I have gotten to the point, I still do it. I still do it. Last year was the first time that I really was engaged in the social media platform LinkedIn. And I got all in my head about the fact that I didn't know how to do it, that I didn't know what I was doing, that it wasn't going to be good enough. I worked with a consultant that worked with me on, which I chuckled. She was very good, but I was like, why was I taking this so seriously? And then finally, I just hit a point where I was like, oh, I got to do this. And it really was this thing. It's like, well, okay, I didn't die. No one even noticed. Like I put all this time worrying about it, and it really, and then I was like, let's do it again.
So it sounds like you're really embracing that imperfect adulting, although would you say like you have perfectionism tendencies that will kick in,
I
but you can still find
can.
the
Yeah.
imperfection is like you're
Well,
able to
yeah.
embrace that.
I mean, especially if you have an idea that one of the places this can really rise, I'll say this. If you are very good at something, or if you've got a skill in something, maybe you did something within an office or a team, and so you were part of a team that had a really professional product, and then you break off and you're doing that by yourself, like as a freelancer or a consultant, and then you're maybe not exactly able to make it as fancy as you were in an office. You can get that imposter syndrome that's like, what I'm doing isn't good enough to show other people. And so it can raise its ugly head. Or when you have people who, the whole motherhood thing where you take time off to raise human beings and you get back out into the world and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm still as good at this as I used to be. That can be perfectionism. Like, do I really belong?
And I know you work not only with parents, like you said
Right.
just a little bit ago, but you do also speak to parents and work with parents, and
Yeah.
you are a parent. Any tips for parents who are feeling like no matter what I do, I'm just not quite good enough of a parent, right? And I think that that might be a
Oh,
shared notion for most parents, but I think when I'm not a parent, but when we're in something, we oftentimes don't remember that other people have their own version of it. So any tips for
yeah.
parents that are just like, man, no matter what I do, I'm just not really cutting it right now for my kids, for my family.
I mean that for me, and even though you're not a parent, you have parents. You have your experience having lived with parents, and so you probably think back to the things they did every once in a while. Maybe not, because that is one of those things that when you're in the process of raising people, you think a lot about things that happened between you and your parents. I was very judgmental of my parents until I became a parent, step parent, and then I was much more forgiving of things they had done. For me, step parenting and parenting has been the most humbling experience, the most humbling experience that could ever go on. There are just, I mean, every day I fell short of where I wanted to be, and so like actual practical advice: really stay out of places where parents are like performing and showing up in that perfect way. Like if
No,
because
it's a
that is just
facade.
right. Well, maybe it's not, but it's just not a place
True.
to
Yeah,
be.
maybe that is like a version of it,
Right, exactly. Like I was
right?
never able to do that. And then, you have to, or you don't have to. You want to. I try to keep in mind, the thresholds, right? So one time I had two stepkids and a baby, and I called my dad just absolutely breaking down about how things hadn't gone well. The baby hadn't napped at the right time, all the things that I felt like I had screwed up. And he very gently asked me, he was like, "Is everybody still alive?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." Like, I mean, what, and he's like, "Here's the thing. That's success, right? That's the bare minimum of the goal for today." And he's like, "Get everybody to bed, do the best you can, and get up and start again tomorrow." And sometimes we need those reminders. It's like there's a lot of pressure for parents and also just people in general to eat the right thing, right? To nourish your body in the perfect way. And that's magnified when you have the job of feeding other people, right? So, but hey, listen, the number of times that I was just like, all right, I got some calories in these small kids, and that's all it's going to be. And people can really judge that, oh my God, you gave your kids pancakes for dinner. It's like, that's what they were going to eat. You know,
They were fat, thank God. Like,
that's what they were going to eat. Am I happy about it? No.
right.
Am I going to try again tomorrow? Yes.
But this is the reality, right?
I tried, I offered them chicken, and, and that's where it comes back to, like, don't try to put yourself in away from spaces where you're being challenged with standards that you can't meet. I have very independent kids in my house, and I was sitting at a table of women in a women's club meeting, and somebody was saying how, "Well, I just tell my kids they have to do this," and it was talking about recreational extracurricular activities, not like a end all be all thing. And she said, "Well, I just tell them they have to, and they do." And I was thinking to myself, well, that worked for three out of the four kids, but the fourth one just is not going for it. Like it's not working. And then it's the a presence of like that just is. It's not a failure. That is the situation that I'm in and doing the best with it.
That's something that my sister-in-law said in one of my first times meeting her was, it's our parents' first time at life too.
Yes.
And I think that is so important to remember for our own parents. And I'm sure as a parent, like it's your first time doing this. And
Well,
what worked
that's
for
the
three
big
didn't work for
con.
the fourth, and that's okay.
That's right. And that is the big con of parenthood. You think that being a person who had parents has trained you to be a parent. It has not. It has not.
Do you see a connection between perfectionism and burnout?
I think so. I think that, I mean, I think that I think the stronger thing that relates to burnout is I mean, these are the same, they're similar, an unreasonable standard of what can get done is really, I think, what drives burnout. And then whether it's perfectionism or something else, that it's like we have to be the one who does it. So, burnout, in a professional sense, as a nurse, as a caregiver, There are very real situations in caregiving and in life where you're the only person that is there to do something, right? And the stakes are high. And so you're in that knuckle down phase. If that goes on too long, you will burn out. That's the only that's the only way that happens. And so the bridge between like that idea that you're the only one that has to do it to this standard, some parts of that are very real. In the middle of the night in your house, if you're a caregiver for a child or a patient or somebody in your family, you're the only one there, right?
Yeah.
And so the weird part is that the path out of that is to really have support and structure and resources and team to do this big job, whatever it is, so that it gets done without burning you out. And those are very pretty words. That's very hard to create for a lot of people. And I will say that I think that it's harder for women and caregivers. Like, so there are a lot of men that are caregivers too. So, it crosses the bridge than it is for like, the single guy who's working in an office, right? Like that's an easier framework to be like, hey, I need more staff than other situations.
For the people who are like, yeah, I would love to have support. I'm taking care of my mom full time and I'm raising my kids and I work two jobs or
Yes.
and and there's like very realness in that there may not
Yes.
be any support or very little support in this very moment. And, right, things are possible, but we don't know that when we're like in the middle of it. What would you say to that person who's like, no, like really, it's just me?
Yeah, no, it is. I think you can do it for short amounts of time in certain situations. There was a time, 15 years ago where everybody in my house got the stomach flu all at the same time except me. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm sure the only reason I didn't get it is because I couldn't. Like that was not an option. And we were so sick that I didn't have the awareness or the time to be able to think about asking
Getting
for help,
help or
right?
resources. Yeah, you don't even have
It
that
just was
framework.
never ending and it was miserable, but it was a finite period. If that had been a situation where I had needed to do that for a longer time, which people do find themselves in this situation, it's a much more complicated situation. I think really the acceptance and the awareness that you're in over your head is part of the process. And then each situation is going to be unique because there's a lot going on. It's like, what is the bare minimum that needs to be done here? Who can I ask for help? And in some of these situations, it's like throwing a dart at a wall. You just have to start telling people, even if you're embarrassed, what's going on because you just kind of never know where that thing is going to.
Where the support or the direction and your guidance is going to
Exactly.
be.
Yeah, and that sounds strange, but it's like that really is it. It's like you tell your neighbors, you tell the strangers at the grocery store, you speak up at church, or temple, or your run club, or wherever, and you hope that there's somebody who's like, oh gosh, you know what? I actually do have somebody who can help you. And I wish I had a better answer for that. But the thing is that when we get overwhelmed, when we get bowled over by things, it's this we wouldn't it doesn't happen to us when we understand the scope of the problem and we have the tools. Right? It happens to us when we don't understand the situation and we don't have the knowledge and we don't have the framework. So of course we're not going to know how to fix it. And that's one of these wild things about caregiving. The sandwich thing where you've got kids and you've got adults. We Nobody walks into that saying, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to."
Right. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. But everybody also walks into it. They're like, "I'm supposed to. I think I'm supposed to know how to do this. Of course I'm
Yeah, a
supposed."
sense of
But no
pressure of
one
like,
does. Yeah,
yeah, I say
yeah.
that all the time to people. I'm like, be a caregiver 24/7 is like it's just too much for any one person because I think that there can be a lot of feeling like a failure or
hmm
like I should be doing this or why am I struggling to take care of this person 24/7? But we're not meant to. Like it is
No.
so much responsibility. It's just a lot to to manage, right? Long term, like you said, short
Oh
term
my,
with
short
everyone with
term, yeah.
the GI bug, you were able to, but for weeks and months and years, it's so, so much. So I think that advice of speaking up, talking about it,
Yeah,
being
because otherwise you're
open,
invisible. You
yeah,
don't know
nobody
you are,
knows.
right? You don't
Yeah.
know you are, but it's happening within the confines of wherever you are, and so you don't know. And it can be scary and it can be humiliating. And it's not just because you start speaking up doesn't mean that you're going to immediately find the angel who will help you. But I remember years ago, I was in a room of people I didn't know very well. It was a social gathering, and somebody was clearly had hit their limit and was talking about what was going on in their life to whoever would listen. And they had taken on caregiving responsibilities for somebody who had a hoarding problem. And they were completely overwhelmed. And I remember I didn't know them at all. And I was like, listen, I was like, actually, if you hire a cleaning service, they will help you. And she was like, I'm embarrassed to call them. I was like, this is the thing. They see this more often than you might realize. They're not,
Right.
if you just make some phone calls, you're going to find people who will help you out of this. And you just need to find one person. And that's just because I just happen to like have heard a story of somebody else dealing with it. But she could have been nine other things that I wouldn't have had anything. But if she had not raised the topic in this
You wouldn't
situation,
have even known to offer
that's
that
right.
direction. And
Right.
I can hear a part of me putting myself in the shoes of, being a full-time caregiver
Yeah.
for someone. And that, well, does this mean like there's a part of me that would be like, does it mean I don't love them if I'm trying
Right.
to get outside support or I'm stressed out and overwhelmed? And so I think that's also important for people who may be in that caregiving role to know that just because you're struggling, you're burned out, you're exhausted, that it doesn't mean that you don't love the person that you're taking care of at all. It's
Right.
actually an act of love for yourself and for them to get support.
100%. They say that we always say that phrase, which is like you got to put your air mask on first to be able to care for other people, and that's a very good thing. But it is a very real challenge to speak up and say I can't do all of this because we idolize as a society, right? Like we put women and caregivers who go above and beyond on this magical pedestal of admiration. It's like Mother Teresa, Florence Nightingale. Like we really romanticize the idea of people who go above and beyond. And that's great for them, but you only get one life. And it's like it's so. And then the other hand, right, we totally also romanticize, and you can just hold this in your hand at the same time, like the person who delegates everything is recognized also and rewarded, just not at home. We shame women who delegate home responsibilities. So it's like, if you hire a cleaner and you hire a nanny and you hire aftercare tutoring, you're like a woman who's not doing it themselves. Like, oh, I can't believe she doesn't do that for her kids, right? But if you look at an executive who builds like a giant business, Jeff Bezos is not out there sweeping the floors of his warehouses, guys,
Yeah.
right? Like, so it's like find the balance of that to be like, what can I do? And so when we talk about like motivation, when people research motivation, there's some research about you have if you can identify what you want to be able to do. So it's like if I can outsource, cleaning the house for my caregiver so that I can play cards with my mom and I'll have time to do quality time. And once you identify that thing that you want, you might feel better about bringing in resources.
So you can see the direct thing that
Right.
it possibility that it opens up for you.
Exactly. It's like if I can find somebody to clean the house or do the laundry or shop for the groceries, then, we'll be able to spend time together or I'll be able to get some sleep or, whatever it is the thing that would make your life better. That sometimes can be the piece that makes it worthwhile. There is, with caregiving specifically, there is the very real reality that a lot of times there's much more that needs to be done and could be done than there are resources financially and hours wise
Oh,
to do.
right. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's probably a big piece of it too, is finding some acceptance of some sort in the chaos and imperfection and
Yeah.
this feeling of I should be doing more. There could be more help here,
Right.
sometimes it's, just not an option. And so finding like some level of acceptance. What have you found to support you or support your clients? And with, I know you interview so many cool people. Anything that when it comes to embracing imperfection in adulthood,
Embracing imperfection. That's a great question. I wish I should have a stock answer for that, but I don't. Um,
even
I
better,
think,
actually.
um, I think that, some of it is sort of celebrating your own identity and uniqueness. So some of that is that it's like, yeah, I'm not a professional baseball player, so I'm not going to be the perfect baseball player. Right? That's who I am. And on the same side, it's like I really like these things about me. So, when somebody comes to you and they're like, wow, that's a crazy outfit. And it's the ability to be like, I know, I love it.
So
Right.
it just
And
really like embracing your
your own
uniqueness
personality.
and
Yeah.
quirkiness
And
and
it doesn't
making
even like
humor
what
light of those other things. Like you said, like I'm
humor
not a
and
professional
light.
baseball player.
Right, exactly. Or, your own favorite color. I had a friend in my 20s who did not like chocolate. She still doesn't, actually. She's still my friend and she still doesn't like chocolate. And I remember, I don't think I'd ever met anybody. I mean, I knew people who didn't choose chocolate,
Or
but
we're
I never,
allergic. I know a
right.
couple
I
people
don't
who are
even think
allergic.
true. And I don't think I had met anybody at that point. So when she told me that she didn't like chocolate, first of all, like a jerk, I completely challenged her on it. I was like, what? No, that can't be real. I mean, I just didn't even believe it. But that's who she is. That's her own preference. And to just be like, I like it.
Leave me alone,
Leave
Amy.
me alone. Exactly. Leave me alone. I don't like it. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you share with us anything you have going on so listeners can know how to find you, connect with you?
Absolutely. So the name of the show is The Art of Imperfect Adulting, and it is on all the audio platforms, so Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of those things. It's also on YouTube, so you can see them in person. I interview people about choices and decisions that they make in their life and how that impacts how their life goes. So it's a wonderful show. I love it. Everybody should check it out. And I'm also doing for people who are in the creative space, like women who are creating podcasts and YouTube channels and blogs and film and anything like that, newsletters. I'm having like a series of conversations with creators to talk about what it's like right now in the creator space. So those are the
Ooh,
two things that I'm working on at the moment.
very cool. All right, and I'll share all her links so you all can connect with Amy. Before we go, since we're here at the beginning of 2026, we're in January. Do you have any intentions or focus or word of the year?
I'm not organized enough or decisive enough to pick a
That's okay.
singular
I think that's
word of
like
the
something
year.
too that's being really more acceptable, and I love that. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that people do it. I just would have
I
like
like both.
I would have like 100 words and like a new one every
I don't have
day.
a word. It's like I'm always like at least three.
Exactly. But I do sit down and I'm an aggressive goal setter. So I do it like I have like yearly goals, 90-day goals, 1 week goals,
Nice.
monthly goals. So I've got that sort of rolling thing. You and I have known each other through the show this year. I did in 2025, I launched the show and I did 178 interviews in a
Girl,
year.
you're going for it. That's amazing. It's
And
a lot.
so that was a lot. That was a lot. And it wasn't really on, I was just like, how many can I do? How fast? And so I did set an intention where I do have a release schedule. It's like I'm gonna try and hold it for the year. And so that's one of my intentions, and to be more intentional about growing it and working with other people. And so those are the focuses of 2026.
I love that. And I love that I'm the same way. I like write out my goals, my
Yeah.
intention, my plans. It helps me stay organized.
Yeah. No, I
Otherwise,
do
I don't
it.
know how I function if I wasn't writing it down and how to plan and all that good stuff.
No, I check in every day. I have so people get onto all these planners and things like that and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's so great. But my actual planning happens in a spreadsheet. And so I check it every day.
You're a spreadsheet girl?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. I am
Spreadsheet and a
not.
pen and paper. Like, so
I'm
I
a pen and
scribble.
paper and one of those notebooks. I have that. law of attraction planner here I got for this year. I didn't use one last year, just notebooks, but
Yeah,
and then I
no,
had
good
like
old
so
spiral
many
boundary.
notebooks.
Yeah, good
Yep,
old spiral boundary.
exactly.
Yep, yep, exactly.
Well, perfect. Anything else you want to add before we hop off here?
Listen, I'm so thankful for you inviting me to do this
Oh, thank you.
and
This
getting to
was
spend
funny.
this
You were
time with
such
you.
a great interviewer. Everybody get on there and listen and connect with Amy. When I was on her podcast, I was so impressed with the prep work you did, the way you articulated your questions. Like you can tell you really put a lot of intention into it.
Thank you. I accept that compliment.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Oh, that was
Bye.
fun. That was fun. I love. All right. Very